Welcome back to the Tony Casillas Show. I'm your host, Tony Casillas. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode. I want to make sure that you do this during the show, that you be engaged, comment, like the show, share it with people, because that's how we continue to grow. And you can also subscribe to us, the Tony Casillas Show on YouTube. So make sure you do that. Every week we bring a great guest in and really just find out what's going on and what they're doing and contributing to our society throughout the country. And this guest this week, man, is he knocking it out of the park. He's a veteran of the Air Force Armed Services, chairman of 22 Kill, does a tremendous job at this organization, helping our veterans out through tough challenges. Let's bring him in here. That would be Dan Lombardo Jr.
Hey, man, I appreciate the invite, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you look good. You look tan. Is that kind of your mantra?
Well, I'm Italian, so I was born tan, being actually Sicilian, but I'll take it, man, you know.
Hey, I can relate to that. I got a little, I got the built-in tan brown brother, so we can all relate to that.
That's right. We look like twins, man.
Yeah, we do.
Other than I'm just maybe a tiny bit shorter.
You look a lot better, though.
Well, I'll
in
take
shape
it.
and everything.
I'll take it.
But as I mentioned, you guys you're doing so many great things. 22 Kills, an organization that really just helps military people, veterans, and first responders,
yeah.
And so there's a lot of things, a lot of tentacles that go are involved in this. First and foremost, how did you? Let me back up. First and foremost, as I mentioned, you're a military veteran, the Air Force. Tell me about how that started and what kind of brought you where you are now.
Well, so I actually got a scholarship in music. And I was going to school, and after my parents pretty much moved off when I was 18 years old, so I was down here in the Fort Worth area, and they moved off, and that scholarship was only for 2 years. So when I finished the 2 years, I needed somebody to help me finish the other 2 years.
It's music. So what is it?
So
instrument?
I played drums, which
nice.
I found out in college is not an instrument because
you
don't play chords or there's no notes for drums. So therefore, it was really difficult because I had to learn piano or something else that they consider actually an instrument.
Well, I didn't even know that. It's not considered an instrument?
In the sense that there's no written notes. We have percussive hits for each drum, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to go through music theory, you have to know the musical notes, the chords, the scales, and everything, which was a little difficult for me because I was a drummer. But I made it through that, and then I decided that when I played professionally a lot with a lot of great people, if you don't really want to get paid much often, become a musician because you're going to get a piece of the door, you're going to get whatever they'll give you at the end of the night. I mean, unless you're somebody really big. So I realized I needed to find some other career path and just make the music a fun hobby. So the Air Force approached me and said that my scores were high, and they said, hey, listen, you would be good. What do you like? And I said, I like electricity. I mean, hell, when I was a kid, I got shocked by doing the projector in the school. Remember the old school projectors, the metal ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that thing shocked me a couple times. I was trying to figure out why, right? Well, I
And
learned
you
a little
survived.
bit. Yes, I did survive.
So you can survive that,
but I was
right?
the kid that I think I grabbed it the fourth time before I realized, that's the thing that's hurting me. So maybe a little thick-headed.
The fourth time?
Yeah, yeah, But anyway, so I joined the Air Force, and I went through basic training. I did all that stuff, and I also went to school at the same time. And then that's when Desert Storm started. So I actually got drawn in that there was a bigger, and to me, a better mission that needed to be handled, which was defending our country. And so from there, I just happened to be, there was a training mission that I was on, and a friend was in an aircraft, and he happened to crash that aircraft in front of me, and I was going to try to save his life, and I was called off because there was a fuel dump next to him, and a big, huge fire truck was trying to get to him and didn't, and he and the other pilot died.
Wow.
And it was a very traumatic experience for me, especially because I thought I could have saved him. And there was some weird things that happened after that no matter what anybody told me, just kind of haunted me for a while. So after I got back and finished my stuff for electrical engineering and did the things that I'm doing, that thing kept staying in my head. And then I thought, well, I would, in the sense, remember his loss, which is coming up, Michael Higley, June 21st. So I kind of did a thing for him every year, but it still ate me up. So I started meeting different people that served, Marines and different people. And I thought, man, they seem like that they're managing it better than I am. And then 3 days later, one of them took their lives. And then I realized it wasn't being managed and there wasn't very many avenues to help. So actually, I ran into a couple of Marines that started the 22 Kill, just the awareness program. That's all they did. They started the ring that we put on our finger, which is an honor ring. And that ring symbolizes the 22 veterans a day that we lose every day in the United States. And people don't realize that it's probably more than that because some states do not turn in their totals at all. So it's probably higher than that. But when we dug into it a little bit more, I wanted to create some awareness and tell people. So I immediately started helping them, started putting their big events together. And then, of course, myself and a few other guys, we wanted that next step. What are we going to do next? We've now spread the awareness. The push-up challenge was successful. It went all over, went viral. It was over 22 million push-ups. But what's the next step? Well, the next step we thought was, after push-ups, is providing some services, some therapy services and counseling. So 22 Kill has grown into that. And I think why the organization is so successful is because we create a place of trust. We bring that camaraderie back for the warrior side of it. And I say the warrior side of it because now we also do services for veterans, first responders. And I'm saying first responders, that's fire, EMT, and police. And also during COVID, we did a special thing for emergency room doctors and nurses because they were going through that, they were going through some traumatic experiences as well. So the organization has really grown and built on this level of trust. And now we look at it, we offer a bunch of non-traditional therapies. And just to educate everybody, the hardest thing I feel to do, because you're looking at somebody who is hard-headed, as I said, is to get a warrior. Blood. Yes, to get a warrior to come in and say, "I need help." That's the hardest thing, and I think you probably because a lot of the sports guys that I know, and I mean from professional boxers to football players, same thing, right? Because you were in that battle, that trench all the time with your team, and then when you retire, it's like it's not there anymore, and there is a piece of you missing. Well, that's the same thing with the camaraderie of the warrior community. So in that, we do a bunch of non-traditional stuff. And I mean, our Forged program, which is our outdoor program, provides hunting and fishing and different programs. We have the Watch program, which is amazing. We Are the Children of Heroes, which is a program for the lost of their children, make sure the children are taken care of, the spouses. And then we have from art therapy to music therapy to just all these. We even have yoga, which I didn't think would take off, but it actually did. I did not participate in it. I'm not a yoga guy.
You should do it because it really quiets the mind. And if you're not very flexible like me, it definitely helps.
Well, my wife might want me to do it if it quieted the mouth a little bit. I don't know about the mind, but
it's just getting you to settle down for about 30 minutes and just that quiet time. But
it must work because we had about 10 people show up the first time. Then it grew into 40, and it did well. But it shows, so what the non-traditional side is to guide people to traditional therapy, that one-on-one counseling. And because the first thing is, warrior would say, there's nothing wrong with me. I don't need the help or assistance. Well, hey, do you want to come out and be a part of one of these programs? Do you want to have fun and learn about this or learn about hunting? Or sure. So once they're out, we put like-minded people around them. That camaraderie comes back. And then one of the other warriors that is attending those events will say, hey, listen, do you know, I went to counseling here, and, man, it changed my life. It really did get me back to 100%. And we don't, I try to, I guess, clear up what people think about counseling. I mean, we're in a world today which is sad that everything needs to be handled by medication. Yeah. Right?
And you know what? And to your point about mental, health and awareness, it's vogue. We used to, back when I was, growing up, we didn't talk about that. Right. But especially when you need to help, it's good. I mean, it's not something that you're perceived as being weak. And so I think that's the hardest thing that
that's why the warrior in any person, it's hard for them to overcome because they think it's a sign of weakness, right?
And it's not.
And to me, it's the strongest thing that you can do.
To be able to admit it.
Yeah, to be able to say. And
But you
what
need
we
help.
push out, the thing we tell everybody, it's okay not to be okay. First of all, there's not a person that's listening to this program that could say, I've never been depressed. Nobody can say that. So we've all been
That
depressed.
will admit it.
Well, I'm saying they inside they know they've been depressed. Now,
Exactly.
who's going to put up their hand and say it?
Exactly.
And interesting enough, we'll have an event. We might have 200, 300 people there. And before we start off the whole thing, we'll say, who's ever been depressed or needed help? And there might be 8 hands go up. So Jake Schick, who's our CEO, will say, okay, we got 8 people that are they're secured with themselves, and a bunch of, the other 225 are liars, right? and then at the end of listening to the programs and warriors saying, I've gone through these programs, at the end he might ask it again and all the hands go up, because it's what you're worried about, the perception around you, right? And to me, the strongest perception you could do as a leader is say, I asked for help, right? And you're helping other leaders. So it's an amazing thing. We've come a long way, and what people don't realize is this isn't just all of our counselors were warriors in the sense they were officers, or they were veterans, or they were married to one. So there's the connection, the communications there, the language, everything is there that they understand. So that's why I think we're really gotten successful. But in that, to let people know, a lot of charities don't have overhead, but we have over $800,000 worth of overhead.
Yeah.
Because our counselors have to have a master's degree. We have doctors on staff. That's a cost. And what we do for our warrior community is 6 visits at no charge for them. We pick up that cost. So then after the 6 visits, anything they could possibly give. If they want to give what the session's worth, $100, they give $100. If they can't, they give $25. The sad part is our community that you think of, our veteran community and our LEO community, aren't the best paid. They're not taken care of like they should. So a lot of them, from the tight budgets they have, can't afford it. So we still see them regardless, whoever needs the help.
Right.
And then we'll see, like I said, their spouses and their children, and if they need be seen together, we'll see them together.
I think that's great, but I want to back up just a little bit, because you mentioned you witnessed Michael being killed in combat. And I know with the PST and everything, that's got to be just tremendously traumatic. And you mentioned the camaraderie between your troops and your guys on the battlefield. I mean, that's really kind of an intimate camaraderie. And you alluded to in football, sports. I mean, you're around those guys all the time, but it's still different. I mean, I did a USO tour about 10 years ago, and I got to see it and kind of smell it and touch it. But how hard was that for you to come back, and it sounds like it's hard for you to put that to rest because of what happened and not be affected by it? Because I think that's the misconception with people. They think that, okay, you just got to block it out and you just move on. But in this organization there directly deals with that. So how hard was that for you?
So the hard thing is, first of all, for a lot of people is, like mine was, that it wasn't my fault, right? That there was nothing more.
But you wanted to do something,
right? And I felt I was stopped. So then you start questioning yourself: what if I would have ignored them? Would there have been a different outcome? They told me 5,000 different ways. There's not, but the brain and what you think that's what haunts you. The fact is, the subconscious mind is more powerful than anyone thinks. And the thing, we've got a lot understandable about the human body. I mean, you think of the advances we've done in heart, and like a friend of ours just gave her kidney for a transplant that just happened yesterday. An amazing thing, right? That surgery went well to save a person's life. Another friend of ours, Bailey Williams, an amazing, Aaron Copeland, the country singer, it's his girlfriend. But all these advances, but the thing we know least about is the human mind, right? So in that, the thing that you keep doing is repressing that deeper and deeper. So then the lack of sleep starts, and then you start trying to convince yourself, I think this goes away when I drink or if I take things. So like you're saying, the thing is once that you talk about it, and then once you start processing out your feelings, then you start realizing those feelings are okay. And the way I was feeling is okay, but it's almost like a burden gets lifted off of you. You know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden it's okay. And interesting enough, after I talked through it, I reached out to his family, and was years later, and talked to his family, and I told him how I thought, and it was amazing. Response was, we appreciate that you tried, but there's nothing you could have done, and we don't. There's no negativity that thinking because they went through the whole process. There, was some video. There was what happened, right? But that was a great relief of pressure, and that's, I think, the community. The more that they embrace, the understanding of mental health, and I'm saying not even on as 22 Kill, we focus on warriors, but all the way across the board, we need to say that this is okay for all levels of people, especially for young adults. I mean, the more they isolate and social media takes over, they isolate their problems and their issues. The more that's why the suicide rate, even in our younger youth, has skyrocketed. And then, of course, COVID didn't help either, right? That's telling everybody that they have to stay at home.
Right.
So,
yeah, that was hard to really just deal with that. And, the organization does so many things. And as I mentioned, there's so many tentacles and in the family, the people that are affected by that. And look, I watch a lot of Netflix. I watch a lot of documentaries on the military and how they deal with it. What's some of the stories that you've experienced where there's guys that you thought there was no point of return, and all of a sudden they do a 300, 180 and retract and go the different direction and get help and get grasp of it and are now just thriving in an organization like 22 Kill?
Well, I mean, I guess.
It sounds like there's
I'll
a
tell
lot.
you,
22 suicides a day.
Correct.
That is daunting. And when you go to your website, I see the first thing you say. First of all, it's one tribe, one fight.
And by the way, just to let you know, because we have so many programs that you said, so many programs below that we had created, which will happen on the 22nd this month. We created a parent name, and just to take away the misnomer that 22 Kill is not going away, but we created One Tribe Foundation. So
I think that's a great slogan, by the way.
One Tribe Foundation will be the umbrella of 22 Kill, which will be our education awareness program, Stay the Course, which is our traditional counseling, and then our non-traditional programs, which is, like I said, the Forged program, and then our other program, Watched, and then we have White Star, which is for the families of the lost, right? So there's all these, and then we also have peer groups that we set up too that we run as well. So all that will be underneath the umbrella of One Tribe Foundation. So 22 Kill is not going to go away, because I keep having veterans, because to them, especially the veteran community, it's a part of their lives. They have the bumper stickers all over their cars. It's a
great brand, by the way. And then the ring and what you do as far as the push-ups and everything. But I think it's a tremendous slogan.
So that's our bread and butter on the shirts and the rings and stuff like that. But One Tribe Foundation will just oversee that as well. But back to what you're saying, I'll just tell you guys a story that also for me, it's a little bit more, it's a religious side as well. I was raised in an Italian family, half Italian, half Sicilian. So it tells you they were really Catholic, and my grandmother was really on raising me in a way that helping raise me with these little things. And Italians, just like my father, anything that you learned the rough way. He'd give you this, saying, and it just, wasn't some of the nicest stuff in the world. But anyway, but my grandmother one time, I think I was 10 years old, and she said to me, what do you think, that God wants from you? What do you think is the most important thing? And I went through as 10 years old, well, thou shalt not kill, no. What do you think he wants from you? And she said, what he wants from you is to make a difference on this earth. Like in that time, that short time that you have, between the two dots, the one that you're born and the one that you're leaving, what kind of difference can you make? You physically put your hands around it, not just throwing money at it physically. And that stuck with me. So that's what drew me into making the difference is instead of complaining about it, let me put my hands around it and start helping to make that difference, right? But in that, interesting enough, one of the stories that just, I thought, because, being chairman of the board and being from it, I've been with it for 7 years. There's sometimes I think that the group's heading in the right direction and maybe I need to slow down a little bit. And we decided, my wife and I were going to put a pool in the backyard, and we had 2 soccer goals in the back there, and it was my older son who played soccer. And I told him, hey, listen, this is how we're handling this. These are your goals. So I'm going to put it on Let It Go for like $50. They're going to be gone in 10 minutes. And then you're taking them apart. You're helping to load them, and you get to keep the money, but I'm leaving. So he agreed to that. And, man, it must have been, 50 names that popped up on everybody who wanted those goals. So I just randomly pick a guy. So I leave, and I happen to be sponsored by the car wash in Burleson. It's on the main, Burleson Car Wash is on the main drag. Really nice guy, guy that backs us up.
Right.
And I get this call. Hey, soccer goals won't come apart. I was like, what are you talking about? The bolts are stripping. I was like, I got to come back there? So I drive back there, and it's this pretty built Hispanic guy there. And I was like, hey, you sure you want these? Because, I'll help you take them apart. So we're taking apart, and he goes, hey, I saw the ring. And he said, and also I see you a lot at Fort Worth police organizations. I said, well, yeah, I'm very involved in the police community. And he says, well, I was Army, and now, you won't believe this, I'm on the police force. Wow, how interesting is that? So we talk through this
Small world.
Yeah, so we start talking about this whole thing and things he's gone through. And him, he had a few things that happened that were, I won't talk about. It was just very traumatic. And interesting enough, we load up all this stuff, and he drives off, and then he stops, and it was like, I don't know, 50 yards. And I said, well, maybe forgot something. So I went in the backyard, and there was nothing in the backyard. I said, well, it was just like something told me, just stay in the driveway.
Right.
So all of a sudden, he backs all the way back up, and he said, last night I had my service weapon in my mouth, and I think God wanted you and I to get together.
Wow.
And I said, well, let's get out of the truck. Let's talk about
Man,
this.
I just got chills.
Yeah. So we talked through it, and we got him in, the next week. But, there's just things that tell you this is where you need to be, right? And this is what you need to do. Just
the whole fate and the way things happen. You meet someone, and it's kind of this sense of, disconnection. And I mean, that's a tremendous story. And as I mentioned earlier, there's so many things, and one of the things that you guys do, when you go to the website, if you go there, there's a ton of information, but it's fallen police officers and the families, more predominantly in the Fort Worth area in Texas. How hard is that to work with the day and age of back in the blue, and just being able to the whole process of being a police officer, and sometimes being the bad cop and not really the good cop? And you know where I'm going with this: the social media and just the I would say the lack of better words, police brutality. The perception of that, and I saw this in one of your interviews. I thought it was interesting, is that people are afraid, if they're a police officer, what the reaction is going to do, because they're judged in the public opinion. I mean, how hard is that for them? And what
they can't do their job.
Is that? And to me, that's scary, because if you're a police officer and you have to react, and it's your life or doing something, a good deed to protect, I mean, that's being put in a pigeonhole.
Well, saying first of all, the bad cop thing is probably less than 1% of what's out there. It's just the only thing that makes social media and TV is when, a guy has a bad day. But we got to remember our officers are all human beings. All right. They go through the same stresses and the things that we have. They have their kids in school. Mm-hmm. They have arguments with their wives. So they're human. We can't put them up on this pedestal thinking they're not human, and they can always be at 100%. But at the end of the day, they can't do their jobs because think about this, that you spend your whole life, and it's just like this. If you spent your whole life being an attorney and that's all you've wanted to do, you sure don't want to do something that might be a malpractice that you lose your license, right? Because it's over, right? The show is over. You're never going to be an attorney again. Well, that's how these officers think, and now they're putting themselves in harm's way because they're going out to a call and somebody might have a weapon and they're going, man, I wonder if I can use my gun. I wonder if this is it. They're starting to doubt themselves because they're worried of the repercussions. They see this person over there holding a camera. Well, I know they're recording me. So they almost like, it's almost better that I get shot because that's the only way that I will have a chance to defend myself, because any other thing that, like, to me are common sense things, right? I'm going to be held accountable. And what people don't realize is, and, you know, not Fort Worth and some cities protect their officers, but there's a lot of cities where they give out the address of these officers and people show up at their houses. It's unacceptable what's going on right now.
That's a daunting thought.
We need these men and women that are out there protecting us. And just like this, the warrior community, the veteran community loves our officers, because what do you think made us feel good when we were away, who had our six, is knowing that the police community was there for our families, to protect our families while we were abroad. So it's really, right now, is more time than ever, if you're listening, is to appreciate the officers. I mean, take cookies to the station, whatever you can do, because they need that right now, because it's been the less candidates that have in history right now that want to be throughout the United States to be police officers. And believe me, all this talk is going to come full circle, because when crime goes up and these things go up, and also this understanding of we can do whatever we want. I mean, in New York City, they're allowed to dump water over an officer.
Yeah,
you know, they're throwing water and Cokes in their faces, and there's no repercussion to that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're setting ourselves up for failure. We have to be smart enough to realize they are protecting us, but the stress level, and we are connected, just to let you know. So One Tribe Foundation 22 Kills connected to all the officers group throughout the state of Texas. We have a good resource and connection with them. And because I have such a connection with them, they asked me to be also chairman of the advisory board for the Brotherhood of the Fallen police organization.
You're not slowing down, brother. Are you?
I know. So I help with that organization to help them grow. And to me, that's a symbiont circle. If they grow, we help them. And it created and it made that path where the Fort Worth Police Officers Association started realizing, you know what, we need to help jump in too. So Manny Morames, who's the president for the Police Officers Association, you know, we have a partnership, and now they cut a check to us to cover Fort Worth police officers for their mental health. I mean, I think that is an amazing thing that every city needs to be doing.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, and you have to do your job and make a decision. I really want to get to one. You mentioned untraditional and traditional therapy. What's the untraditional therapy, and when it comes to?
So untraditional to me is like you're fishing, right? I'm trying to get you hooked on and to come in and do traditional, but the only way there's gonna have to be some bait out there. So it's fun activities.
I'm a terrible fisherman. I'm one of those weekend fishermen, so it doesn't matter. I am not one that I can sit that long. You know what I mean? There's got to be other things. Yes, you have to be patient. That's definitely not me. But so like Wind Therapy is our motorcycle program, and there's a huge, crowd of warriors, and I'm talking about across the board, who love motorcycles, love the Harley riding. So our ride is coming up September 11th for 22 Kill, and the Wind Therapy program, it sponsors Wind Therapy. Because that's the therapy of, hey, learn to relax and enjoy your bike. And guess what? You don't have to have alcohol and drugs to enjoy a therapy program. You can enjoy these things and enjoy life. So that drags them in. And then once they're in that program, or like I said, the other things, the art or the music or other things like that, you're drawn in. And then finally they start talking to like-minded people who say, you know, you should really go in and try a session or two. And once they go in, 98% of the people that we have come in say that first session that they felt immediately relaxed, and they felt immediately like that there's trust,
And that's the goal.
Slowed everything down and takes your mind
Right.
and puts it at ease. And that's such a great story. You know, all these powerful stories and what you guys are doing with your organization. And again, it's not just one. There's a lot of different aspects of this, your mission, if you will. And so in my show, we do a couple of segments. One is called X's and O's of life, and it's just not. It's all about our DNA and what got us there, where we're at now. We're excited to now, starting this week, that X's and O's will be brought to you by Dr. Matt Chalmers of Chalmers Wellness in Frisco, Texas. And my first question is, I think I already know this. Favorite food, and out of that favorite food that you're going to tell me what that is, can you make it?
So
and I'm going to guess
definitely.
Italian, right?
No, actually.
Mexican?
Actually, it's steak.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean
steak.
to profile you. I kind of.
Actually, but falls in the steak is I can make some
I
mean
need some
fajitas.
damn recipes for steak.
Oh, man,
especially the marination part of it.
Yes. So the to me you got to have a green egg. To me, I love that.
Really?
Oh man, the green egg I get it up to 700 degrees. First of all, the best steak to me is the best quality. You have to buy a good quality. Yes. And
you know how that's aged, by the way, don't you?
yeah, I mean,
It's kinda, you don't want to know that.
No, you don't want to probably tell people, but if you look at how far some of these age,
Okay.
but that's what helps break it down.
Absolutely.
But to me, it's just olive oil, salt and pepper, and then you get that green egg up to about 700 degrees.
Okay.
And it's 2.5 minutes aside, and then you let it set, wrap it, and let it set for 5 minutes. People don't realize a steak is almost like it's in shock when it comes off of that grill. So you let it set to 5 to 7 minutes, it starts breaking down, and that's when the real taste comes into the steak at that moment. And I'm telling you, you can almost cut those things with
you
a
take it
butter.
off the grill for 5 minutes and let it set?
Yes.
And then put it back on there?
No.
Oh.
You let it set without touching it, cutting it, or anything. That's the worst mistake people do.
Does it depend on if you want a medium rare or well done?
That'll change on how long it's on the grill. To me, of course,
see, man, I'm a grill
anything
guy,
more
so
than
I'm
a pink center
note
to me,
here.
you're wasting meat, right?
And that's
the
it,
way
olive oil and salt and pepper?
Yes, but I
And
use
the green
sea
egg?
salt. I use sea salt, right?
Yeah.
And that helps break it down too. So you leave that I just do it 24 hours that it sits on in that salt, in that olive oil. And I mean, I tell you what, it looks like butter. It just, you easy cut through it.
Good.
But the thing is, if you look at any guys that are, or women that cook good steaks, it's that sitting time afterwards. I mean, now some of my kids I take a thing of garlic butter, and in that 5 minute seat,
I put enough garlic.
Yeah,
on
and I
there.
put it on there, which
bad
will soak
breath,
it
but
in
that's
too.
okay. It's worth it.
Hey, food is
It
food's more important at that time.
Absolutely.
So that and the fajitas, I do cut a flank steak and I marinate that, and all that's marinated is almost like the same thing, but just the salt and pepper and some hot. I'll put some different hot spices on it, let it sit, and that goes directly on my grill. And once again, you let it sit for 5 minutes and you cut it cross grain. You'll have the best.
I'm going to try that. Something that's real embarrassing about you that people may not know.
Let's see. Well, some people, when they find out I'm a drummer, I can pretty much play anything. But
I still can't believe that's not considered an instrument.
So it's an instrument.
Well,
but
I
what
know
I'm
it's
saying,
an instrument, but it's not.
If you go into music theory, you're not playing drums.
Okay.
You have to learn piano, guitar, something that has notes. You have to learn the scales. And to graduate from that program, you have to then compose something on one of those instruments.
Okay.
So you think of this, anybody else that's in the program has scholarship guitar players playing guitar.
Favorite drummer of all time?
It is probably David Garibaldi. Here's when the funny thing is that when people listen to my favorite band, which is Tower of Power, which is an old 70s funk band,
Oh, yeah.
they go, what the heck are we listening to, right? Bunch of horns, and it's funky, and I'm like, so a lot of people go, please turn that off. So
hey, how about Buddy Rich? People don't know about Buddy. If you Google Buddy Rich, that dude can pound. I mean,
Buddy Rich, but I was a fan of somebody who used to battle with Buddy Rich called Louis Belson, and Louis Belson had double bass back then, which was not too many people had. But Louis Bellson, I ended up being a judge at a competition when I was in high school.
Right.
I won Best Drummer of the state of Texas, and that's who gave me my award. So I had thought, my head, you couldn't get through a freaking doorway, you know? And so when I called my dad, I was like, hey, you know, I just won the Buddy Rich Award. He goes, how much did they pay you? You know, my dad's never going to let that, you know.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, how's that going to pay for your school, son?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So did Louis Bellson just cut you a check? No, he didn't. He gave me an award.
Is it a scholarship for 4 years?
So he would answer it back, yeah, you know, Mr. I think I conquered the world. You still got a ways to go.
Yeah.
And the great thing about my dad is still today, you know, I will always get an honest opinion from my father. And he's probably more of somebody that I trust more than anyone on this planet, that I can, hey, this is what I'm going through. Give me a fair assessment back. We talk, even though he lives in New Jersey, we talk, you know, 3 times a week. And people, you know, you need that of somebody, but it's hard sometimes. You know, we all, you know, we're talking about house, you know, what you put on spouses, you know, that is if you think there's a financial issue coming on, well, you know, they'll get, oh my God, we can't spend any money. So you're like, I'm not going to say anything. Yeah. And the same thing, you know, when you come to our organization, is the stress the spouses go through that are the, you know, police wives or warriors' wives, is they can't come home and say, you won't believe this today. I was shot at.
Yeah.
She's going to be like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm going to lose my husband. So they have to keep all that inside.
Or you might not want to say that. There's some things you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They won't say it to them.
You can't reveal that. I don't want. You imagine having to worry about your.
You have to carry that inside.
Walk through the front door. I mean, that's a big burden.
And that's the thing, is that a lot of we see the spouses, and that's the biggest thing. The spouse is like, I know he's going through something. He just won't tell me what it is, and that's because he doesn't want to put that burden on her, because, you know, it all goes downhill, right? Burden goes from there down to the kids, you know. And I've
been married for almost 25 years. It hasn't gone all downhill. I just know this: women are always right, and that's the only advice that I'll give to anyone out there. But that's okay. That's okay. As I mentioned, we do another one. It's called Binge Worthy. You know me, man. I'm like you mentioned fishing. I like wicked tuna. I like watching all these shows because I'm a horrible fisherman. But I like it when I go out. Like, I'll dress the part, but I can't fish. I mean, there's all these different shows and Netflix and everything. Anything that you recommend binge worthy that people would want to watch?
You know, the funny
doesn't have to be TV or whatever. You know,
the funny thing that we picked back up. And it was funny because my wife has never seen the series, which was Sopranos.
Oh, yeah.
So we started Sopranos back up like last week.
That's great.
From the beginning. Of course, she's like, now I know why you have issues, right?
Bing,
you know,
yeah.
So, you know, I was like, you know, everybody thinks this is what Italians do. I mean, you know, forget about it.
Forget about it. Goodfellas is still one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, the funny thing people don't realize is how that lineup went. Is a lot of the same actors from Goodfellas to The Sopranos and then to Boardwalk Empire. There's a lot of the same people because Martin was in charge of a lot of that, and so he brought a lot of the same people. So you'll see a lot of the similar actors. And it's very interesting that most of them are Italian. But here's one I'll throw you. My uncle, I guess he would be not my uncle, my cousin, great cousin or something, because he's my grandmother's brother's daughter's son, right? So we keep everything close.
You got that right.
Yeah, so he's in Sopranos.
Is he really?
Yeah, and so I was telling my kids.
Does he have a speaking part?
Oh,
yes. Really? Which character?
He doesn't have the best part. He's the guy that mows the lawn. Remember, they beat him up and they broke his arm, but he's in like 5 or 6 shows, right?
You always remember the guy that got beat up, right?
Yeah, look up Louis Mastillo.
Okay, I want to do that.
So Lombardo is my grandfather's side. The Mastillo is the other side, and so yeah.
That's true Italiano. Yeah, that's one thing about shows like that. You can go back and watch it, and it never gets old because there's always something
that you didn't get.
Yeah, I mean, I went back and started watching House of Cards. To me, I think that regardless of who plays the roles, and I mean, it's just a brilliant. I'm just going back and watching it, but there's so many great things. And hey, I just want to tell you, I appreciate you coming on my show. Appreciate what you do with 22 Kill and everything else you're doing. Real quick, you're electrical engineer, and my son's electrical engineer. What the hell happened with ERCOT?
Oh.
So I dropped the mic on that one?
Yeah.
I forgot to ask you. Can't manage electricity, but you know what? You do.
So here's the problem with our grid, and people don't realize is that I think they'll dig in more to it, but the equipment that we have was outdated, was not really prepared for that cold. And also,
you think so?
Oh yeah, and then they shut down a lot of the grid. And here's the thing: when you're thinking, I mean, I said I wouldn't talk about politics, but on the side of pushing this green energy too much, but people don't realize the green energy goes back to the same power grid. So when it's cold and the wind turbines don't turn and you don't have sun coming down for photovoltaic,
you're not
producing anything.
Yeah. Right.
So it's not helping you. So you still have to go back.
I'm not an electrical engineer, and I'm smart enough to figure that out.
Yeah, you have to go back to the coal burning type things, and that's the problem. Was they tried to reduce the grid size, they tried to control it. It was probably there was a bunch of people got fired over it, and there's going to be a bunch of lawsuits over it for sure. But I got one for you now. So part of 22 Kill, of course, is the ring. And
oh, by the way, I'm going to earn my ring before.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So I
got
his ring
do
here.
My 22 push-ups. So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't steal your thunder.
Before that, he gets to wear the ring. He's going to do 22 push-ups. Of course, he's in great shape.
It's all
he's
about
earning
it, right?
Yeah, you got to earn it.
You got to earn it.
And the thing is, the reason why is because everything in the military that we do, we had to earn.
Mm-hmm.
So another confusion that people think about 22 Kill is, I can't wear this ring because I didn't serve. Let me tell you something. We need more patriots. I mean, we need more patriots in this country.
I feel like I kind of the same way. You got to have the valor and everything, but I think that I appreciate you saying that.
You do not have to wear a uniform.
It's just
of any sort to be a patriot. And the thing that you can do right now is just love your country, love that flag and what it stands for, and know what it stands for, and know that there was men and women that gave their lives that you could. Especially, I tell my kids all the time. You were telling me I got 4 boys, and it's like you would not be able to watch TV, play video games, or be able to say the things that you say if it wasn't for men and women that gave you that freedom and that protection. So always respect the graces and the giving somebody gives to you, right? Don't abuse those things. And,
Amen.
Just like when you give your kids something, take care of it, right?
Hey,
yes. I give you a car, you earned it, take care of it. I want it washed, I want it taken care of. Well, do that to this country. Take care of it, protect it, and just honor. If you didn't want to serve, it's okay. But honor the men and women that are serving this, from first responders to veterans. This ring just says that you're part of our tribe and that you believe in this country, you honor the men and women that served, and you understand that life, freedom has a price. That's why it's important that you can wear this ring and what it means to be part of our tribe.
One tribe,
one fight.
That's all. Man, appreciate, man. That's well said. Appreciate your patriotism. Appreciate what you're doing. And thanks again for being on my show, brother.
It's a pleasure, man. Now let's see some 22 push-ups.
I will do that. All right, here we go. You go. Hut. Ah! Oh. 1, 2, woo! All right, before we wrap this up, let everyone know how they can get more information on 22 Kill and yourself, and get more information on this great organization.
Well, it's easy. First of all, you can look up www.22kill.com, but you can look up onetribefoundation.org. So back, we were so long ago, 7 years ago, there was not, the orgs was not popular. So everybody goes, we're a charity or a 501c3, but you can look up either one of those on Facebook and on the internet, and you'll find this great organization. And all you have to do is say, I want to purchase a ring or some shirts, and all that helps our overhead and helps cover and take care of veterans and first responders.
Great stuff. Thanks again, brother.
Awesome, brother.